Marijuana is now a huge part of the United States culture today, and despite how you feel about it, it's here to stay. Recently, marijuana legalization has transformed from a libertarian fantasy into a mainstream cause for the better. Now, 47 states and the District of Columbia have legalized medicinal marijuana, and 12 states have made the long-awaited correct decision to allow legal recreational use of the drug, and those numbers are only going up. Although marijuana has been approved legally for medicinal use in the majority of states and the recreational use in a handful of states, the legalization of the drug at a federal level would assist in solving many of the nation's underlying issues, especially in a fiscal way, as seen in states who have legalized the drug already. The lack of legalization has created many problems that have only troubled aspects of American society. For starters, there are many misconceptions and false opinions regarding marijuana and its capabilities. Until 6 months ago, the DEA classified it as a Schedule I drug, meaning there is no accepted medical use and there is a high risk for addiction and abuse. Compared to other drugs in that category, marijuana is much less harmful than methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and others. Compared to alcohol and cigarettes, marijuana has minuscule long-term effects such as minor change in brain function. Marijuana also cannot kill someone directly, as it is virtually impossible to consume too much to kill someone, unlike alcohol and cigarettes, unless someone were to consume 1,500 pounds in a 15-minute period. Every year, cigarette smoking kills about 480,000 people, and alcohol-related deaths reach upwards of 90,000. Yet the government has not made any changes to minimize the sales of it, and they actually possess a threat to your body. If marijuana is significantly less harmful to one's body than alcohol or tobacco, why are they legal? And why is marijuana not? Besides the potential dangers it can cause to one's body, the lack of legalization has also led to the uselessness of time, resources, and money. Marijuana prohibition now costs taxpayers, as well as the federal government, as much as $20 billion a year in resources to try and stop the transaction, possession, and consumption of the drug. The war on drugs that the federal government claims they're fighting is obviously lost, and the government needs to accept this. No matter what it is or how illegal it is, if something is illegal, there will always be a black market for it. Some say that history repeats itself, and that is true if you look at prohibition with alcohol. The gangsters were getting such an influence on illegal alcohol and promoting a black market economy on it, and you could say that the cartel is getting just as much of an influence. Drug war spending has resulted in defunding of other important services like essential education, health, social services, and public safety programs struggling to operate on meager funding. The stigma the government has against combating marijuana is also leaving less money, resources, and time towards enforcing crimes more serious than someone lighting up joints. Out of 2.3 million people incarcerated, nearly half, 46%, are in for non-violent drug offenses according to the Bureau of Prisons. Out of those 46%, half that number, 23%, are in for marijuana-related offenses. This has led to billions of tax dollars wasted in terms of funding a frightening, understaffed, overpopulated prison system that is running at 103.9% capacity. To me, these problems are ridiculous because they're problems. They can be so easily fixed in such short notice, and it starts with legalizing marijuana for recreational use at a federal level, as well as allowing Americans to be involved in the business and industry. However, you can't just say something broad just like, let's legalize marijuana recreationally. All hell would still break loose. In order for legalization to be effective, there needs to be some restrictions in place for the best possible outcome. Firstly, tightly regulate the industry to make sure those involved are operating legally and make a smooth transition into the legality of it, as well as regulating products for consumer safety. For anyone that breaks regulations or laws, whether it be consumer or something business-related, punishment will be harsh. The government will watch closely over those involved in the industry. As the government will watch over the industry tightly, they will also implement a tax system in the financial aspects of one's business and sale. Although it will be legalized at a federal level, the state government will have some say in the aspects of business and taxes. The tax revenue will go towards many things, including social, educational, and public services. Just as the legal age for alcohol and now tobacco, the purchase, possession, and consumption age should be set at 21. This therefore eliminates blood borders and keeps marijuana out of the hands of supposedly less mature 18-year-olds. In short, bring the legality of marijuana the same way into American society, the same way alcohol was brought in nearly a century ago. The alcohol industry is still ran very similar to my proposals and has worked out very well for consumers, businesses, the government, and this country overall. Just like at the end of Prohibition, legalization will also help fuel an economy in these tougher times that is likely headed towards another recession sooner rather than later. We'll turn a multi-billion-dollar black market industry legal and therefore give Americans business opportunities, much-needed jobs, and put Americans in the workforce. Just as Colorado had fared out since they legalized it. In Colorado, The $6.5 billion cannabis industry now has almost 3,000 licensed businesses and 40,000 people who are licensed to work in them, all created in the past 6 years since they legalized. When Americans go to work, Americans pay more taxes. Americans pay even more taxes when they're buying marijuana. These taxes are what America needs. The average annual trade of marijuana in this country is estimated at $113 billion, $45 billion of which is not being collected for federal tax purposes due to the lack of legality. Legalization would eliminate the black market, as well as the $45 billion that accumulates every year, and put the $45 billion we lack to better use. If you take into account that we would save potentially $20 billion from not having to try and fight and enforce illegal marijuana as well, the U.S. government could have an extra $70 billion per year at their disposal. On top of that, states are also collecting tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue annually. In 2019, Colorado collected $302 million in tax revenue from marijuana, a 12% bump up from the $266 million from the year before, and is still at a sharp upward trend. These numbers are 3 times more than the revenue from alcohol. Colorado's thought a better use of hundreds of millions of dollars would include the industries of health, education, and social services, and more. If all that could be done from one state, why can't it be done for the country as a whole? All the tax revenue would save money, resources, and time trying to combat the war on drugs and help the U.S. start to dig out of its $20 trillion debt. Also, why is the U.S. fighting the war on drugs when it can't be won? No matter what, there will always be a black market for something if it is illegal, regardless of the efforts of stopping it. The only way to win the war on drugs in the black market is to eliminate the war entirely. A huge step of this is legalizing marijuana. Marijuana is by far the most popular products cartels bring into the U.S., and if people can purchase it legally, why would anybody buy from the cartel? The lack of business would be a huge hit to the cartel and lessen their influence in America, which would mean less time, money, and resources spent trying to combat their most popular product. Why is marijuana so popular, though? It's because there are many medical benefits to it. Medical marijuana is legal in 47 states with a prescription because it is proven to be a trusted medical remedy for many common illnesses, injuries, and other pain. It is known as a strong catalyst to alleviate many symptoms that are associated with life-threatening illnesses and is used for many years as remedy for people who suffer from glaucoma due to effect that the THC in marijuana produces upon the inside of an eye. Marijuana is also a huge part in combating cancer. So with all these medical benefits, you might be asking, why is it even illegal in the first place? To be honest with you, the U.S. has been stupid to not legalize it for medicinal use nationwide, let alone full recreational use. As a country, we benefit so much from it. As seen from the states that have legalized it, legalization would boost the economy, create thousands of much-needed jobs, lead to billions of dollars in tax revenue, save billions of wasted dollars trying to combat it, eliminate cartel influence in the black market, reduce crime and improve safety, improve medical practices, improve education, social services, and other public works. We're wasting money and time trying to fix something we can't, and the longer we wait, the longer these issues are going to keep getting out of hand. Even if you're part of the 1/3 of Americans that don't support legalization, it's here to stay. And there's a saying the government can learn from all this. If you can't beat them, join them.